Hello, hello. This is Christine Renée, and you are listening to For the Birds Radio on the kiosk, and we are simulcasting with the Lot Radio in New York today. I have two very special guests I'm happy to welcome. We have Lise Vachon and Vito Ricci.
Hello.
Hello. Visiting, you guys are on tour. So Lise, your professional career began in 1967 as a duo, Luc and Lise from Montreal. And from there she started studies of African folk music and specifically focusing on French colonized countries, and which culminated in a synthesis of Quebec folk and the traditional music from these countries in Africa. And later you studied music therapy at Loyola in New Orleans. And then you found your way to New York, where you eventually
met Monsieur Vito Ricci.
Oui. And Vito, Vito is a musician and an unyielding composer raised in Brooklyn. You began your career as a percussionist and found a home in the downtown theater and poetry scenes of New York and the early mid-80s, and is known for, like, I don't know, surprising. Everything that comes from you is from you.
Yes.
And I mean, there's a distinct Vito sound.
Let's hope so.
Yes. And you've scored over 50 productions, including string quartets, song cycles, and ensemble pieces. Theater productions,
right.
And some kind of dance music.
Right, dance productions also, which were mostly dance theater.
Dance theater.
Quote unquote.
Yes.
But some of it was just plain dance. But
yeah.
It's, dance is mostly theater anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, some of it even crosses over into the DJ world, and we saw a resurgence in the record you put out called "Music for Memory" that was associated with a theater production,
right,
that became the namesake for a label that we all know.
Yeah, those guys stole my name. How lucky can you be?
How lucky, yeah. Well, we're here today to talk about your story a little bit and to bring out some stories that haven't been told before. So, and we've decided that we've spent some time at the house together, talking, hanging out.
Right.
And we decided to put everything in a magic hat and pull things out at random and just see how it goes.
What are we pulling now?
We don't know.
Oh. Lise, it's up to you.
Yeah.
This one says Bob Holman, Poets Theater. On the street. Oh, yeah, that's...
On the street of Pedro, on a street named Pedro Pietri.
Yes.
So that's, that speaks to, yeah. Poetry, right.
Poetry,
Your
wow,
work with poetry and...
Well, actually, I started hanging out at the Poetry Project, I would say around 1977 or so, maybe a little before that. And the Poetry Project had just... the people at the Poetry Project, actually, Patti Smith, Richard Hell, Tom Verlaine, they all sort of moved from the Poetry Project about 10 blocks away to CBGB's, where they all became famous as punk rockers.
Right.
But they all really were poets, and they all sort of were aspired to be poets. So that's why they were at the Poetry Project. But CBGB's was a little easier for them to make a name for themselves, because they didn't have Allen Ginsberg and those people to compete against. There was no punk rock hardly at that time, so they were the beginning basically of punk rock.
Right.
And I worked with Bob Holman, who wasn't a punker, but we had a little duo that actually Bob called Panic DJ.
Oh, okay.
which was really a lot of fun.
Yes.
And Bob is really a lot of fun. And yeah, and he was, I guess, one of the real quote unquote performance poetry people at the project. So,
Yeah, it was. Would you say he was an originator of slam poetry? He was
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he wasn't the originator. He tells me the originated, the slam, the poetry slam originated in Chicago.
Okay.
And he got a hold of, or he latched onto that concept very early. So he not only had slam, I guess slam poetry is like a competition between poets.
Technic. Yes, it is. Yeah.
And he started doing that at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, which was a little bit after that. And I was just working with Bob. I was never a poet. I was always a composer, musician, trying to hang out with the poets.
And you guys put out a record, and
many years later we put out a record. Of course, we hadn't had really any record. We had one record out that came out in the early '80s, called Panic DJ, but it was it was a 45, a single record, and the thing is, we did tour, but it really wasn't because of the record. Bob was getting good jobs because he was a good poet, and so he would just get jobs sort of around the country in Detroit and in different places. So, and I toured with him, and mostly in the beginning, I played guitar, believe it or not.
But behind him as he
okay.
Right.
So we didn't, the computer and whatnot wasn't happening at that point. This was like 1979, 1978. So. No, I certainly didn't have a computer at that time. So, we would just make up crazy stuff. And Bob was such a good performer that I would just let him go, and I would add, if I could, anything to what he was doing.
So it was improvised. That
somewhat. I mean, the poems were written.
Yeah,
But how he performed the poems was different every time.
Yeah.
So.
Got an example of that today? Do you have an example of that today?
Let's
listen to.
I have an example of a poem that is actually about a famous. I don't know how famous he is at this point, but.
Well, his work is spectacular. The project to preserve endangered languages and many things.
Yes, Bob was a total poet, total word person, but. Somebody who had started actually the Nuyorican Poet Cafe was this great poet named Pedro Pietri, who passed away quite a number of years ago. And I have a little piece here that I can play for you.
Yes, thank you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
On the most amazing day, you were born and you were died. We was waiting for you everywhere, and you surprised us by showing up everywhere else. Where once were bottles, now only bottle caps hang in mid-joint, waiting for the air to turn into red wine and cheeseburgers, and the bottle caps without bottles will be redeemed at the Church of Our Lady of Tomatoes for $5 a piece. Now that you have your own street named after you, maybe they will get you a car. But you need the okay of the Latin insomniacs motorcycle gang without motorcycles to set up the toll booths at both ends of the block, so that once you pay to get in, you can also pay to get out. Unless the toll booth keeper is at the other end of the one-way street that never ends, and you get to stay forever in the bodega that doesn't sell anything because it is made out of loose joints and condoms, and the only way you can get in is to smoke your way in and fuck your way out. And when you drive your black helicopter over the street that has your name and see the great balls of fire that are being lit up in your name and the outrageous acrobatic fucking that is going on in your name, you may very well want to change your name. But you can still pick up that notebook that you left in the telephone booth that time and make your escape into the day where it is always night, and laugh at the poets who try to make sense of the fact that a street that has your name on it will never have you to walk on it, because you are too busy writing a new subway that runs directly under the street that has your name, where you are on an uptown train going
And
downtown.
can you tell us a little bit about the music behind it that you're playing?
Well, the music behind it was sort of random. It was supposed to be a percussion. The music there was supposed to be sort of percussion and a little bit like what you might call hip hop type of rapping type of thing. But when I turned the computer on, it didn't turn on the drum machine, so to speak. It did the sounds of other instruments. And so, of course, Bob, being Bob, heard that and said, "Oh, let's keep that. That's wonderful." So
Yeah, it sounds good.
So I wasn't so sure, but it was his record, so I said, I'll let him do whatever he wants. So I went with it, and of course now I love it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Maybe what do you think?
Time for another
Time for the Magic
Oh,
Hats. Shake it up here. Ooh, maybe that one. Oh, this is special. Yeah, we'll wait. We have something coming up, but we have a lot of things coming up, actually. Aha!
So this is a production that Vito did. He wanted to do something with me, and so here we went, and we did a record with musicians that he had been playing with.
Who are those musicians?
For quite a few years,
Yeah.
and I didn't know them, so I was wondering
Yeah.
who those guys were.
Yeah.
And so we had Rashid Ali,
Wow.
who's a drummer but was playing some percussions, and kalimba. We had Peter Zumo, who was a great trombone player, didgeridoo.
Yes.
We had Bayer Lancaster, a wonderful flute and sax player, but really special. And bass clarinet, from Philadelphia. And we had Blue Jean Turney on the piano, again, a very special musician. And so we got in studio, and in 5 hours,
5 hours.
we just did that. This was like all, right there listening. Those musicians were wonderful, because here I was singing things that they don't necessarily know, and they just we were all listening. We were together. And we did that in 5 hours.
In a groove, or like you're just responding to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's amazing, because this is a fantastic record. And let's hear something from.
So how about Vocalise?
Okay.
Which is a poem. I can't think of the name of the poet right now. The New York poet. Help me, Langston Hughes. Thank you. And yes, let's see what you think.
Yeah.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up? What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up? Like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore? And then run? Does it stink like rotten meat crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweat? Maybe you just sags like a heavy load. Or does it? Does it? Does it? Does it? Does it explode? But it
So this one was spontaneous as well, or
Oh yes,
or-
yes.
yeah.
So it just started, and there we went.
Yeah.
We went on our little voyage.
and then everyone followed, and
Oh,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So it really
So-
hits a groove and develops more.
Yeah, it's like an invention, you know.
Yeah.
With how many were we? 5 people all together.
Wow.
And then you'll hear the trombone a little later, and you would hear a little more piano. Yeah, no.
The rhythm track was already composed before we went into the studio. That's why it sounds a little bit like, 5/4 hip hop, trying to mix a lot of things together. Lise is a very good improviser, jazz singer, so as you can hear it, it sounds like Ella Fitzgerald, maybe.
Yeah.
Far from that, although this is a singer that I've listened to when I was younger, and I really loved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I avoided listening to singers because I wanted to have my own style. So I never wanted to listen to other female singers, except Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Kulthum in Egypt, things
Yeah.
like that.
So your influences came more from, you guys are doing Everybody Plays Folk, but so there's a folk influence in your, and
Yeah, the
Let's
trombone
listen.
came in.
yeah.
Well, yes, somehow, music, it's all folk music deep down.
Yeah.
And so I sang folk music when I was little with my father, my brother, and I just went on. I knew a lot of French and French Quebec folk songs. Less English ones, of course, because I didn't speak English then.
It wasn't where you were. You were in
No.
Quebec.
Montréal, oui. So, of course, I listened to a lot of French songs, and people, all the great songwriters in France, in Belgium, in Quebec, those older.
Yes, and some of your music is completely different, or maybe an older folk from medieval times. I don't know if we could call it folk, but some of your singing is from.
Well, I always loved music from the Middle Age and Baroque music and Gregorian chant.
Okay.
And the voice for me, I was always like, it's an instrument.
Right.
So that's how I've always undertaken it.
Yeah.
So the voice can sing all kinds of styles.
Your voice can certainly sing. Lise made me cry earlier today listening to some of her music, and you
So
go-
we'll listen to some more.
Yeah, let's listen to some more.
So are we are we ready for the hat?
Yes, let's
Vito?
magic hats. Yeah, why not?
What do you see?
Quebec African Project Synthesis.
My handwriting is.
So of course, I've always liked music of the world. So I listened to some from tender age, and I went to Africa and learned some traditionals with the griot that I met, and so I don't know if we have any example of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you did a huge project. You were commissioned to, or you had received a grant to bring these.
Yeah, well, I kind of created the project because I had met some great griots, and I thought that it would be really interesting for them to do a series of concerts with my band.
Yeah.
And so I wrote to the presidents of Senegal, Mali, Togo, Ivory Coast,
Okay.
because I had gotten to meet some musicians during my first trip, and also taking care of organizing a big Franco Fête in Quebec City with all the nations that were colonized by French people, and France and Belgium and French Switzerland. So I had met others there, and we created something in a big concert that was opening the festival. And so after that, I thought we have to bring that elsewhere. So of course, I wanted a synthesis of African and Quebec or Canadian.
Amazing. A
music.
huge project.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So anyway,
So?
this is one song. Yes, we can hear a little bit of it.
Yeah.
This is a Senegalese.
Yamadoi samarenu khalnga safungama Munu malabai bul sedli mei bani badef mako Yamanech yamadoi samarenu khalnga safungama Munu malabai bul sedli mei bani badef mako Yamanech yamadoi samarenu khal gasafungama Munu malabai bul sedli mei bani badef mako Fatumata lidei du li parsimande watch how much you wind down Munu malabai bul sedli mei bani badef mako
Amazing.
Yamonek with Rashid Ali on bass kalimba.
Wow. And he only played. He wasn't playing. He only played hand percussion with you guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we played Rashid.
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
played with him quite a number of years, and he never played his trap set with us. Always, well, we were a duo, so a trap set would have overwhelmed everything. So,
Yeah.
but he was a great hand percussionist. Let me tell you, I played many hours with him.
Well, one story that we definitely need to get to is your composition for the play that led to the record Music from Memory. Can you kind of summarize that for us?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to
It
summarize.
is a
but,
lot.
but the thing about that was I had just bought a computer. This was 1984. And computers were, they started to come down in price, and I was actually able to buy one, saving up my pennies and whatnot. So I was doing some music for this a creation production company for a few years, and then, as I'm saying, the computers started to present themselves to me. So I did this score, which was the first time I ever worked with a computer. But, you know, I had some intuitive instincts. And of course, with a computer, it really started to sound much better than it did on tape, what I was doing before that. So a friend of mine, Johnny Mann, came to one of the performances and said, well, you know, we should make a record of this music. So, you know, I didn't really, I had never made an album before, and he was just starting to get into disco albums. He was making disco 45s, as a matter of fact, 12-inch 45s. So he had a little studio in his son's bedroom. I went up there and we recorded. Of course, it was somewhat easy to record because it was all on a computer, so we didn't have to have people playing. And the electronic music on that album is all recorded like in 3 hours. And there's a number of pieces that were in the Memory Theater play that I used prepared guitar. I was playing guitar with nail files and wrenches and, you know, making crazy sounds, of course. What else can you do?
Exactly.
So Johnny said, yes, let's put that on the record too. So for anybody who actually knows the Music from Memory record from 1985 will hear these kind of wild sounds in between all of the electronic music that's, you know, that sound like noise. And that's basically what it was.
And it became an underground hit where it's selling for like $300 a record, right?
Well, I think that's a little high, but you know, now it's selling for $300 a record.
Okay.
When
Does it?
Right.
And then we have some Jamie Tiller and
Taco from Music from Memory they got in touch with me because they wanted to know if I had any more of these Music from Memory records, and so they got in touch with us, and one of the things that they said to me was, well, you know, they were a little embarrassed, but they said, you know, we have actually started a record label, and we used the name of your record. I hope that it's okay. You know, I was totally flattered that somebody even knew this record, no less named their label after it. It was so great, I'm telling you. But what I did tell them is that you can't copyright a title. So even if I didn't like it, I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. And tonight we are very lucky to be hearing for the first time the debut premiere remix of a song from the record I'm at That Party Right Now. So this is
with Ron Vorder. Here we go.
Here we go.
party. I'm at that party. I can feel it now.
Vito, is hello. Is that you on that song?
Well, I'm not rapping on that song. That's a wonderful actor from New York who was working with the Worcester Group at the time, and his name is Ron Vorder. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1994 from AIDS, but he does such a wonderful job on this, and there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Listen to it. It's fantastic.
He lives on through the song. It's definitely a favorite among DJs. Someone played it on loop for 30 minutes recently.
Yes, someone said that. I didn't make that up.
I wish I was there. Or maybe I'll have to do that next time I play. What's next? Should we look?
Let's pull one now.
Pull another one out of the hat.
How many more minutes do we have?
We have.
Camdoc.
Oh.
How about it?
Okay, well, Camdoc is a piece that is part of the KPs, which is anybody who was in the army knows that KPs means kitchen patrol, and really it only means that they help in the kitchen.
This is in Vietnam.
Yes, I was in Vietnam, and this is because, of course, the soldiers, the regular soldiers, did not want to wash dishes and clean the floor and set up the tables and put all that. So they hired Vietnamese kids mostly to do this. And I mean, I was also a kid myself. I was only 19 years old, and they were 18 and 17. So, but I was their boss because I was the cook in the army. And at one point in my stay there, we went up north near the DMZ zone, where it was quite dangerous. Although, I didn't die, and we didn't really see that much action for a long time. Actually, no action. It was just beautiful lakes. The sun was out all the time. It wasn't monsoon season. Mountains. It was just beautiful. And then after a month of being there, the VC, which is the Viet Cong, ran over the company, and they just, they really took over, and we had to actually run out of there. I remember throwing everything that I had away and just running to the helicopter to get in there. So we can get away.
Yeah.
And everybody else was just throwing their rifles away and just running. And I do remember the helicopter taking off, and actually you could see the mortar rounds in the back of the helicopter coming after us.
Oh my God.
It was, it's kind of interesting now. Then of course I was scared out of my wits, but it was an interesting visual sight. And anybody who reads about this, because I wrote about it in a book, they always say, "How did you really saw the mortar rounds?" Yes,
Yeah.
I really saw the mortar rounds.
I think it's hard to believe if you weren't there, But,
Yeah, well.
But the music puts us there, and I don't know if we'll get to all of it, but let's listen to a bit. This is the beautiful part of that story, yeah?
Oh.
So, well, amazing song, and then it really, you have to check it out on your own, because after that it gets to the scary part.
Yes, with the mortar rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So I just wanted to, it was quite a pleasure to, I've known Lise in Vito for a few years, and I did not know about this part of your career as Luc and Lise.
That's right. Well, I worked with Luc Lise for a few years, and we wrote songs. So this was like when I started really professionally. That was on the second album, I think, second vinyl that we recorded, and it was called Angela Mon Amour, which is really a really fun. Fun lyrics.
Let's listen.
Vous n'étiez pas si belle, vous n'étiez pas venue.
Je n'étais pas si belle, je n'étais pas venue. Je n'étais pas si belle, je n'étais pas venue.
Vous n'étiez pas sortie de chez vous à 5 heures.
Je n'étais pas sortie de chez moi à 5 heures.
Et vous ne lisiez pas le Tamerlan des cœurs. Angela, Angela mon amour, Angela, Angela mon amour, Angela.
And then one of my favorites from this period, I just want to play this. It's Québec nucléaire. Can you say it's
nucléaire? Oui. Let's see what. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, that's.
You need to.
Wow.
Voilà.
Well, maybe we're not gonna get to play it. Yeah. No, it's not gonna happen. Well,
Doesn't want to play it.
check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But one song today that we did listen to that I absolutely fell in love with. Can you speak about this song, Yuko? This is a project you've worked on.
Yeah, Vito, you can talk about it, Vito. This is a song cycle. This is a few songs that Steve Dalachinsky wrote, a poet, New York poet. And he wrote this one for his wife, Yuko. And it's really, really funny. So,
Yeah.
let's see how it sounds like. A cappella.
I am like a bad joke, the way I pound the pavement. With your heart looking for a hungry dream, I am a sinister plot devised to make you feel uncomfortable in restaurants. You have everything I want, except a few things. I have nothing I want. You need very little to get by on. I have very little, but it never seems enough. You accept me as I am and are content just to be near me. I don't even know what I am is. You like to smoke coolness and watch the flowers breathe. I like to spoil your good time. You are a well that is easily filled, and sits my
Genius. I love, of course, your voice, first of all, and the lyrics. There's funny, and they're totally in contrast to something that is like pure emotion and pulling at the heartstrings. You were nicknamed Bird at Loyola, or
in New Orleans, many people called me Bird, and in fact, it's really interesting because black musicians called me Bird too.
Yeah.
In Montreal,
Okay.
and in New Orleans, and I think this is why. What's his name? Rashid Ali really loved hearing me sing. That's why I think that he played with me, because why would he play with me when you played with Coltrane, you know? He just liked my singing.
Yeah, and I can hear why. I can definitely.
She was really a fan of yours. But now.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'll let Renee, Christine do this.
Yeah, it's well. First, there's your careers, your lives are so much to cover. So we just scratched the surface in this show, and thank you for coming on. And we have a few minutes left, and I know that there was a significant loss this year in the community, or
right in the DJ community especially. A good friend. It wasn't really a good friend of ours because we didn't even meet him, and that's the name of this piece. We didn't meet him, but his name is Jamie Tiller, and he was one of the people who started the Music from Memory label from Amsterdam. Him and Taco
Reyenga.
Reyenga, I never get that right. And we played Cafe Otto a couple of nights ago in London, and Jamie's father came up to us. And I had never met Jamie, but I met his father, and it was just such an emotional moment. So we'd like to dedicate our last couple of minutes to Jamie, and I'll play you a string quartet.
Because he died in October, and the whole community of DJs all around the world were crying.
Devastated.
Yeah.
This is for you, Jamie.
don't know. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you guys for coming on and for sharing your music, and have a great show in Berlin, and yeah.
And Sunday at Q02.
In Brussels, you're going to an opportunity to meet Lise and Vito at Q02, where there's a talk about the work as well. Yeah, some listening. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. See you next time.